So this is going to be the demo for the drapery assignment. So this is my sketch. Here's what I was drawing. So you could set something else like that up. I just got like a pillowcase and like a towel, or I guess like a diaper, and then kind of a cloth diaper, and then some push pins, kind of made some folds, just kind of pinned it to the wall. You could also put the drapery around an object if you want to, but that was my setup. So, but yeah, so here's a sketch. And so there was a light one and a dark one because I want you guys to be able to do both dark on light and light on dark. But what you're going to use for this is going to be your compressed charcoal. That's like the darker one, the more square stick. You could use your blending stump or your finger if you just want to blend. And then eraser, both the kneaded and the white eraser. So, all right. So after you have it sketched out, you could just kind of start in with charcoal. I would start with the darks first. So, and then also another helpful tip is if you're right-handed like I am, start with drawing on the left side and then work your way to your right, so you're not like, you don't get this side over here finished first and then go back over here and put your hand over and smear over what you're doing. So that'll be helpful. And so the first thing I kind of want to do is make my contour lines a little bit stronger so I can kind of see the form a little bit more. So kind of like when you guys did your shoe drawing, it was just a contour line drawing, sort of like that, but with charcoal. And don't really worry too much about shading when you're just doing the line work, right? And then the way you draw with this, so you can, this is a flexible tool. You can either draw with the very corner, right, and get like a really sharp line like I'm doing, or you could draw with like the edge and get like a long straight line, like a thin straight line, or you could draw with the end of it and get a smooth line, or you could shade in with like the side. So right now I'm kind of just drawing with the corner of it. And I just want to get my edges in there first. I can sort of start to put in a little bit more where the shadows go. Use a blending stuff. And so I'm working in my sketchbook again. It's just the size of paper I have around, but for you guys, for your drawings, use the big drawing paper. So the 18 by 24 drawing pad, use that guy. It'll be easier to draw larger than it will to have to do it smaller. So once you use your blending stump a little bit, it gets, it gets kind of marked up, kind of dirty, which makes it helpful for, because you could put in lighter strokes, lighter marks. And think about like cross contour, like the direction of the strokes that you're putting in, should kind of go with the form. Give it a little more dimension. Put a little more. And this area kind of casts a shadow down onto here. So that's what this is. that's kind of how it goes. You kind of block in your contours first, or kind of put in your contour lines first for the shape of your folds, and then blend them out later. So once the lines are in there, the blending stump, I could leave, like say this one I'm working on here, I'll leave like the left side and I'll just blend on the right. So like that left side stays sharp, and then the right side gets softer as it moves into the space. So that way I still have that edge, but it kind of softens into this form here. And I'm going to take the same approach to the next line. And so the light could also move left, right, but also top to bottom, right? It's important also to see where it's, maybe sometimes it's a dark edge, sometimes it's a light edge. Right, so this fold here has kind of light on dark. So the light's in front and the dark goes behind in this one. Like really pay attention to where it's maybe hard edge and where it blends over. Sometimes it blends on both sides because of like the curve of the fold, right? Like it's not like a hard pinch. It's more of like a gradual curve. So now this other one where it's darker, I'm gonna take the same approach. I'm gonna draw in the contours, you know, so I have the form there. And then I'll use the side of it, and I'll kind of put like a light tone. And so it's kind of like I have the black lines, I'm putting like a gray kind of fill. And then, so things I need darker, like this part, this is a cast shadow in here, so I'm gonna put in that a little heavier. So that's because this is like a darker fabric in the background. So I'm kind of building up the shadows first, you know, over this gray almost like a wash, like if you're painting. And then I could kind of blend these guys in. Use my finger first just because it covers more space than the blending stump does. And then for things I need to render a little more, I can use a blending stump and kind of smooth things out a little bit more. Just kind of get rid of like the rough texture. And so for you guys, for your project, you can either, I could send this picture also in the email, and you can use the same reference, or if you want, you can set up your own. Like I said, I use like a cloth diaper and a pillowcase, but I mean, anything would work, like even like a t-shirt. I use the push pins to kind of create like these points to kind of get the folds in, so I wouldn't just like, you know, lay or pin up a t-shirt like totally flat. I would kind of create some folds if you're gonna do that, or whatever fabric you're gonna use. Like I said, you could also put some, like do a still life of objects, like of different shapes, like round or pointy or whatever, and then just throw like a sheet or something over it, or some fabric over it, you know, and kind of just see what kind of folds you get there. Like that would work too. That's usually what I would do, like for the still life in the class. It would probably be a combination of both. I'd set up a little still life, but then behind it, I'd do it against the wall, and behind it, I would pin up some drapery. So, but yeah, so however you want to set it up, fine. Again, I'll send this one if you want to use this one. But, all right, so also, so this one's gonna have a little bit of different process than the light one. So this one, I'll use an eraser a lot more, because a lot of edges kind of stand out more if I look for the light edge. So like underneath this one, you know, I can, same way you do, like same approach for like the light one. I could erase the edge first, so I have like this light against that dark. But then now just it's like a really like chunky, like thick line, right? But then if I use the blending stump, I could soften the edge of that line, right? And that would bring the dark into there. If I want to go the other way and bring the light into the space down, then I'll use a kneaded eraser, because it's like a little more subtle than the white eraser, and I'll just kind of lift off a little bit of the charcoal, you know, or kind of so to pull the light down into those areas. So that's how, you know, I'm gonna handle a lot of the folds on here. So if I need subtle, like just subtle highlights, I'll use a kneaded eraser, because it takes off a little bit less, right? And then the white eraser, this is like when I really need like a strong one. So I can maybe put in like the major folds first. All right, and then so when you're working on this, if you ever get it to a point where you're good, you don't want to like you have it where you kind of like how things are going, but you still want to add to it. Like you don't want to erase, you just want to add more charcoal to it. You can spray it with your fixatives. If you have the workable fixative, you can spray it with that and then work on top. The only thing is, once you spray it, you won't be able to erase what's underneath because it's like a varnish. It kind of seals up wherever it is at that stage. So you could always add to it, but you won't be able to lighten anything up. But definitely when you're done, spray the whole thing so it doesn't smudge, you know, so your drawing stays exactly the way it is. Also, I'm gonna kind of put some background stuff. So with a dark background, it really lets the drapery, like the softness of the drapery, kind of pop out from that, like really stand out from that. So, but these are the tools you're using. So compressed charcoal. You could also use vine charcoal first if you want, because it's a lighter charcoal. You could kind of sketch things out with that first, and then you could get like maybe more subtle light parts. But to finish it, use the compressed charcoal, the darker one. So the vine charcoal is the other one. It's the lighter one, the one with the it feels light, like it doesn't just go on lighter, it's actually lighter in weight, so you could use that one. And it goes on a lot lighter too. So whereas the compressed, the vine charcoal is like the round sticks, and the compressed is the square stick. So, but really try and work on getting kind of smooth blends, smooth transitions. Right? Like you shouldn't really be able to point to exactly the exact spot where like a shadow like starts and ends. You know, you should know where it is, but it should sort of blend over in this. Like there's gonna be very few parts that are hard edge. Like this might be hard here on top, right? But then it'll fade underneath. Because it kind of casts a shadow in there. And there's also going to be like transparency to your shadows, right? So like these lines for the folds should be darker in the shadow than they are out of the shadow. And then whatever you want to do in the background, if you want to leave it light, if you want to darken it in, it's up to you. A lot of times with charcoal, I really like to use like a really dark background that lets all the kind of grays and subtleties I put into the figure kind of stand out. So like, especially if the background is like really solid, you know, like a solid black, like I feel like that tends to work out really well. All right, cool. And then if you have, you know, any questions while you're working on it, feel free to email me. Like, work in progress. But so that's the demo for the drapery.